I think that, first off, being Muslim, they're going to be different from other kinds of religious ecological models, but even more importantly than those interfaith distinctions is the fact that Muslim environmentalisms are religious. So they have an ethical kind of resource base that sometimes we don't find so much in the tradition, the ethical tradition, say, of Western Europe or the Euro-American tradition. My name is Professor Anna Gade, and I'm here as a visiting professor this year in the MPP program, the Masters of Public Policy program in Climate Change, in the Faculty of Social Sciences. But I'm here today for the Decolonization Conference that's sponsored, among others, by the Islamic Studies Department here. And my recent book is called Muslim Environmentalisms, Religious and Social Foundations. It was published by Columbia University Press in 2019, but I've been working in Indonesia for a long time. My first book was on Quranic education, and I did fieldwork in Makassar and South Sulawesi for that. And there have been other projects as well.
Okay. So for the first question, from your research, how do Muslim environmentalism challenge Western ecological models?
Yeah, thanks for that question about how Muslim environmentalisms may challenge other or Western ecological models. I think that, first off, being Muslim, they're going to be different from other kinds of religious ecological models, but even more importantly than those interfaith distinctions is the fact that Muslim environmentalisms are religious. So they have an ethical kind of resource base that sometimes we don't find so much in the tradition, the ethical tradition, say, of Western Europe or the Euro-American tradition. But you know, I think actually I would answer that question with kind of a twist on it. I think that what's challenged isn't so much a Western model, but the very idea that there's a stark distinction between East and West. You see, environmentalism circulate in Indonesia and globally in all kinds of ways. They've been doing this for a very long time. In fact, we can look to the history of interdisciplinary environmental sciences and see that it was Muslim majority systems that came up with a lot of the sciences in environmental studies now, right? Like chemistry and biology and so forth. And now that continues with programs that are sponsored by all kinds of states and organizations, Indonesia, NGOs like WWF and others, where Muslims work together with non-Muslims on a faith basis or on other kinds of bases as well. And Muslim environmentalism circulate within these systems, and they're not any more or less authentically Muslim than any other based on what context that they're in.
So what's one surprising insight from your Indonesia and Southeast Asia fieldwork, if you can just find one?
I think something I expected to see more was a distinction between Muslim approaches and what could be called indigenous approaches or traditional approaches, that there may be some kind of opposition to practices that are earth-based, for example. But I didn't find that to be true. There was a lot of continuity between them. And in fact, my book opens up with an example of Mount Merapi in Central Java and traditional practices that have been there in Java for a long time that are a part of the wider Muslim culture. So that surprised me at first, but the more I thought about it, the more that makes a lot of sense in the context of Indonesian pluralism.
The third question is, what's been the coolest, most interesting thing about doing fieldwork in Indonesia that totally changed how you see environmental issues?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I think it might sound a little off to call reading the Quran cool, although I think a lot of Indonesian Quran teachers might disagree. And that's actually what I found, was that coming into my fieldwork here, I had expected certain ways of interpreting religious texts. But once I really met religious teachers and preachers and environmental practitioners, I saw that people read the whole Quran and people are sincerely religious. And that means that parts of religious teaching that are actually about al-akhirah, about the end of the world, about crisis, about a transformed world, moving into a world to come, you know, whether that be a garden or something else, are read and interpreted by people in environmental modes. And that's different from what I had expected about Islam, based on my reading in the English language, and also based on the larger field of religion and ecology, but it makes sense. And I think it offers resources for even secular perspectives to think about what is the real measure of a crisis.
So for the fourth questions, you teach here at UIII. How is your experience so far?
So I teach in the program, master's program in climate change. I've been teaching climate ethics this academic year while I'm on sabbatical from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. My experience has been amazing. The students are amazing. What a wonderful community. This library is beautiful. The campus is beautiful. And one of the things I appreciate most is the collegiality among my colleagues and among the administration here at UIIU. Sincerely a welcoming and open place where I feel a lot of sense of belonging. And I think one of the things I appreciate about this campus is my non-human friends. So it's a very wide campus, and I walk through a kind of open area to get to work into my office, and I'm surprised by the wildlife that I encounter there every day, and I'm learning a lot about the human and the academic in Indonesia, but also the non-human world by being here. I appreciate that very much.
That's wonderful. And then for the last questions, how will Islamic environmental ethics shape sustainable futures in Indonesia and Southeast Asia?
That's a great question about how Islamic environmental ethics will shape the future, environmental futures in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. As the expert, I can say with confidence, I don't know. But here's what I do know. I'm convinced after my year here at UIIU that people from this campus and from this country and from this region are going to be leaders. It's because the perspectives that come from the global South are future-oriented perspectives, and I'm convinced with the people that I meet that their commitment and their energy in this area is absolutely sincere, and that includes initiatives from the Ministry of Religious Affairs about sustainability, sustainable mosques, sustainable campuses. That includes the climate change program that I teach in myself here. That includes other measures for conservation that people are talking about all the time, including at this campus in Islamic studies and in other fields like education. So I'm inspired by the leadership here. What the future holds, we don't know. We hope for the best, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.